What I want to take up today is a difficult subject. I say it's difficult because in any language, the preposition is doesn't seem to have a good set of rules. You just have to learn the preposition and how it's used in the sentence. There are some basic rules you can learn, but in the final analysis, you have to know by the sound. And this brings me to another important point. Is the best way to learn any language to read it or to speak it is to listen to it and also to read it. It's in reading a language that you learn the rules. Yeah, so reading is a very important part of learning, say, the preposition, in this case, any other grammar. So I encourage you to do two important things in learning the language. It's not so much studying charts or rules and things like that. It's more or less about hearing it and reading it. So those are two of the most important things you can do for learning a language. You can learn the rules and everything else, but when it comes to using it in writing, and especially in speaking, rules go out the window, meaning you don't remember the rules, or do you examine things according to the rules? So don't worry about so much rules. Learn the rules, but read and listen. Now, we're going to take up today three important prepositions. I say they're the basic preposition, and these are prepositions of place. It's on, in, and at. Now, the thing is, upon means essentially the same thing as on. Okay? Here you see the words, and you see their Spanish equivalent. Okay? When I'm studying Spanish, using prepositions is often very confusing to me. And so the only way I can really think I can learn it is by reading it and hearing it. So let's begin with on. No, let's begin with in. Because in is essentially the largest area of a place, a city, an ocean, a body of water, or whatever. It's the largest area. And this is especially important if you're using some type of form of talking about something when you say you start at the largest area and down to the smallest area, okay? On is the next size, okay? And then at is the smallest area. And let me give you an example. I would say I live in Mexico City on Rio Tigres at 109. That is from the largest area to the smallest area. Area at essentially ends up just being at my front door, where I am. So we're going to take up these today, and I'm going to explain as clear as I can in this part. This part I'm doing an explanation Spanish-English. Okay, so let's begin with the first part. So let's begin with the preposition on. This is a preposition which in Spanish confuses me, and I'm sure it confuses you in English because it doesn't seem to make any sense. But the important thing about learning a language, I keep saying this over and over again in my class, the important part of learning a language is not to learn the formulas, not to learn the rules, not to memorize vocabulary. They are okay. You should do that. But more important is for you to listen to the spoken language and to read the language. These two are more important than anything else than learning rules and studying vocabulary, because they automatically will help you to make the right decisions when you're speaking and writing. And why is that? Because generally when we speak a language, what we do is we speak it or write it, is that if it looks right, if it sounds right, then it's right. If it looks wrong and it sounds wrong, it's probably wrong. We more or less depend on the sound of the language as is spoken or written that determines really the grammar. And the best way to learn that is to hear it and read it. There's no other substitute for this. This is important. If you do nothing else, read and listen to the language. Now we're going to take up this preposition on. And you can see on has three different meanings in Spanish. And that is confusing to me, as I'm sure that on is confusing to you in English. So let's look at the three examples. The children left their books on the table. Here you use the word soberly. You could have used the word in, as my understanding. En la mesa would be just as correct as soberly. Soberly means more or less on top of, where in means more or less on, the surface. Okay, I'm not trying to give a lesson in Spanish. I'm just sort of recounting to myself how this works in Spanish. Then we have the next one. He was standing on the corner waiting for her. Okay, on the corner. And here you have using the word for on the corner, in. Okay, and then we go to the next one. There was a spider on the wall. Well, in and on in English, on in each corner means on the surface of. On the surface of the wall, on the surface of the corner, okay? You're standing on the street, on the surface of the table. More or less, this is what on in this occasion means, okay? So let's go down to up on. Now, up on essentially means the same thing. You can see, use most of the same words to mean up on, okay, except you have added this encima de, okay, equals on, okay. So, in this sentence you have the corpse was lying upon the bed. And in Spanish, you use the word soberly, okay? You could have said the corpse was lying on the bed. It would be, and this is correct. Up on tends to be a little more formal in English speech. So essentially, you could use on just as well as up on. The bird had perched upon the branch. And as I said, you could say the bird had perched on the branch. Okay. And then finally we have Bill was eating with his elbow up on the table. Okay. And I'll leave it up to you to read the Spanish equivalent. The Spanish equivalent might give you a clearer understanding of these words. Here you have the word in. You can see in Spanish that you are using two different forms of in. And one makes more sense than the other, okay, to me, being a student of Spanish. More or less, in can mean on the surface of, but in this case, inside of. Well, so does dentro de. Okay. So let's take a look at what these are. Okay. What do you have in your mouth? And they use dentro de for that. Okay. It's inside your mouth. What do you have inside your mouth? What do you have in your mouth? The next one is we spent a few hours in Paris last year. Now, as I explained to you, this is a preposition of place, and Paris is a big city, and you're inside of the big city. So in English, you use the word in, which is more or less the same here, except it means more or less inside of your mouth. This is means inside of Paris or in Paris. Okay. Then down here you have there were two girls swimming in the river, and I said before, in is the largest area, so they're more or less swimming inside the river. Okay, they're in the river. Next, let's go to at. And as we said before, at is the smallest area. And the first sentence we see here is my parents are at work. Well, at work. Where you work is somewhere in the city. It's probably inside of some factory or something. So it's the smallest area you can talk about. My parents are at work. The next one is Bill is waiting for his girlfriend at the bus station. Again, this is a small area. It's where you are at the present time. At the bus stop. Bus stop is this little place on the street where you stand and wait for the bus. It's inside the city, so it's a smaller area. And then finally, the museum is at the end of the street. As you can see, it points out a final place. And in each case, you use the word in, except at the museum, you say a final de esta calle, at the end of this street. Okay? So I'm not going to go on to inside here. I'm going to terminate it here and make it available to you. So if you have any comments or criticism or whatever, keep them to yourself because I'm doing the best I can, and that's all there is to it. Okay, no, you can give me comments. I can choose to use them or ignore them. Okay, okay, folks. I'll see you. I want to add a footnote to my preposition uh, description or lesson. The best thing to do if you're in doubt about the use of a preposition or how to use it, if you read it, you see it in a sentence, or you want to use it in your writing or even in your speech, look it up in a good Spanish-English dictionary. In this case, I used Larousse, and Larousse is a very good English-Spanish dictionary. And usually if you look up a word in English like in, you will find a whole group of definitions because it will give you how it is used in different situations and different sentences. I chose here, as I did in my video, the preposition of place. And as you can see here, uh, it is, they give the word in, but they give different definitions or different use of that. And so if they're saying in Spain, they say in España. And then they say here to arrive in Spain, here they're using llegar a España. Here they use an A to arrive. Now, you Spanish people, undoubtedly, you have no confusion about that. But I would. Would I want to say llegar in España? No, that would not be correct. I have to say llegar a España. Okay, then somewhere here we have somewhere in Argentina, and here they use the word en algún lugar de Argentina. Okay, forget my Spanish, okay? It was cold in the bar. And here they use the word not in, they use the word dentro, inside of the bar. It was cold in the bar, you're essentially saying inside the bar. Or here they use it or, essentially they're saying or in the bar. So it seems that either one is true here. Those records in the corner are mine. You're saying los discos de Rincón son míos. They're using de. Del, of course, is de el or del Rincón. They're using de. I like the hat in the window. Here they're using de la ventana. Okay. Get in the bath. Here they're using a. Okay, get in the bath, a la bañada. Bañada. Okay, forgive me, okay. Then they go down to be deaf in one ear, and they're using the word de. Now, I don't know, I have an A in front of it. Do you use that? But they use the word de to mean in English. She was shot in the chest. Here they're using the word in the pecho. And then here they say in bed, they're using the word in la cama. In hospital, they're using in el hospital. And then in prison, they're using in. And here, strange enough, they say in the rain, they're using bajo. Okay. And in the sun, they're using a. And in here, they're using dentro. And in there, they're using dentro. Okay. So anyhow, you figure it out. This is probably not strange to you, but it's strange to me. But I want to add the note that if in doubt, use the dictionary, a good Spanish-English dictionary, and it will give you the different way to use that word. And here I chose the lugar, the way to use it in a place. Okay, folks.